ready to start, I want to introduce you to, this is Jake. He's going to be showing you a few techniques on memory. So I'll let him take it away.
Yep. All right. Yeah, for those who didn't know me, I'm Jake. And I won the Baker Talent Show doing something that people probably haven't seen much. I memorized a list of 20 things and recited it. You know, I memorized 12-digit number too. Anyway, people are like, what? You know, memories, kid's a Jedi or something. But no, they're actually techniques I believe everyone can learn. But let's get to some starting points. I'd like to talk for a second about photographic memory. You probably heard of photographic memory, right? Photographic memory. There's very little evidence to suggest that the popular notion of photographic memory actually holds. Well, there are some savants that can hold in their memory a large amount of information at one time. Which is also called eidetic memory. You probably heard of that too. It's prone to subjective distortions, thus it's not photographically perfect. And furthermore, the studies that were performed on individuals with extraordinary memory tend to show that they were using rich mnemonic strategies, such as the kind that I'll introduce you to today. So, yeah, I'd like to get into like a little demonstration, if I could get a volunteer possibly. You, sir. Oh, wait, no, you. It's like Justin was my backup over there. All right, yeah, sure. I need you to come up here real quick. Oh, now, I'm going to try to have you all volunteer because with these techniques, it's important that everyone tries to participate. Yeah, if you don't practice it, I mean, you can learn about the techniques, but if you don't actually practice these, then they're not going to be very useful to you. You'll know a useful skill, but you won't be able to use it very well. And I'd also like to say something about memory competitions real quick. They actually do have like a world memory competition that the people there can memorize like a deck of playing cards in 21 seconds. Now you might think, oh, they have photographic memory, but no, they're also using, the top competitors are using these techniques, and they have never experienced a person with photographic memory coming in thus far, and they're not that worried about it anymore. So what I'd like to do is have Phil here. I'm going to, real quick, just number this to 20. So it's not going to be too many things. But
It's the same thing to us.
no, you'll understand that at a certain point, memory, it's actually trivial to memorize things. Once you have these techniques down, you have them at your disposal. They're like weapons for success, really. You might not believe me yet, but I hope that that most of you do soon. 19, 20. So what I want Phil here to do is just write words. I'm going to try to call on a few of you, just a few different people, and get some random words going. Try to keep them confined to like a grocery list. You know, maybe you need to memorize a grocery list or something. You know, that's a useful skill. So I'm going to call on you, and I want you to give a random number that hasn't been chosen from this board yet, so like 1 through 20. And we're going to try to fill that up. I won't be looking at that. I know there's mirrors, but I won't look at those. So, all right.
Do you want me to tell him the number?
Yeah, you just tell him the number, and he'll write that, the object you choose, too.
Okay, number 8. I'm going to choose bananas.
How do you spell that?
Just spell it as close as possible. And then just, Sam could even point to some people, so I don't have to look at the mirrors or anything.
Okay.
Number 17, bagels.
7 or 17?
17. Oh. Yeah.
Take off your glasses, dude.
Oh yeah, I can't see, although they don't know how bad my eyes are, but I really can't see. Take my word for that, but. Number 1 is potatoes?
Yeah.
Number 3, apples.
Number 12, butter.
Number 10, bacon.
Getting good grocery list here. Trying to keep it healthy.
Oh yeah.
6 tangerines.
16 is what?
6 tangerines.
Tangerines. Okay.
2 yogurt.
It doesn't have to be food, does it?
You can choose something else too. There's, yeah, go for it.
I'm hungry.
18 tahini sauce.
Tahiti sauce.
I'll spell it for you.
Okay, thank you.
No, yeah.
Tahini and then sauce.
I thought you said tahini.
Number 4, more potatoes.
So I was like, really?
Number 9, avocado.
Ooh, this is a really good grocery list.
Number 16, chicken.
You already did 16, didn't you?
No,
No, that was 6.
that was 6.
Oh,
No, I'll throw it out.
16 was what?
Chicken.
Mm,
Do you want us to repeat 6?
no, 16 was chicken and the other one was tangerines.
There you go.
But, second, okay. And 6 was chicken. All right, yeah, keep going.
15, ranch.
Crayons?
Ranch.
Ranch?
Ranch.
Ranch.
Ranch sauce.
Sorry.
Can I give one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, 19 cereal.
Nice. I'll go again.
Number 11, milk.
Number 13, toilet paper.
No, number 20, bread.
Number 5, shampoo.
Okay.
Number 7, cheese.
Oh, I don't.
Ice cream. Oh, sorry.
I think 14's left, isn't it?
Yeah.
Number 14.
14 was ice cream.
Yes.
Okay. I believe that should be all of them, right?
Yes.
All right, now I can do this in a couple of ways. You can call out a random number. I can tell you what's there, or I could do the list forwards, or I could do it backwards. It's up to you. So what do you think I should do? Forwards, backwards, or random order?
Backwards.
Backwards.
That's what I was gonna say. Good job.
All right. Bread, cereal, Tahiti sauce, bagel, chicken, ranch, ice cream, toilet paper, butter, milk, bacon, avocado, bananas, which was the first thing caught up, by the way, cheese, tangerine, which should be 6. 5 is shampoo. 4, more potatoes. 3, apples, or apples. 2, I'll come back to that one for a second, but I'll just go to one real quick. Potato, 2. Well, that's not good, is it? I only memorized 19. That can't be too good. Well, what was it anyway? Yogurt. Gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to try to explain these to you, and hopefully, even 19 out of 20 is an improvement, I hope. But yep, yogurt. So I'm going to try to get someone tonight to actually be able to memorize this list. You know, a little scary, right? But no, I think each and every one of you will be able to do that with the proper techniques. I didn't invent these techniques. They've been around for 2,000 years, but people actually don't really need them anymore. I mean, we have smartphones, store all of our phone numbers and stuff. If we want to recall what was in a book, we can just search it on Google. And, we really don't have that urgency to keep things in our memory, but I think it's a good practice because, for one thing, you're using more of your brain's potential. I mean, if you can memorize an entire book, which you can do with these methods, by the way, then obviously you're going to be using. It's a good experience. So I'd like to describe to you the essential points of developing a good memory. The first is focus. If you're not really focused, you're not going to remember it. I mean, if you're trying to memorize a name, you go up to a person, they tell you your name, but you're trying to think of something clever to say to them, you're just going to lose out on their name. It's just going to drop to the floor of your memory. You're probably going to forget it. So focus is a big thing. It doesn't matter what you're memorizing. If you don't have focus, you're not gonna have it. And the other thing, one of the main things is association. What you're actually doing is associating all of these things in a structured way in your memory. Don't worry if you don't understand it yet. I'm going to try to go deeper into these things. But for example, one way to do this is you would associate one item with the next item. This is called linking. Okay, so you're going to want to link these things. But how do you really link potatoes and yogurt? Okay, well, you could use your imagination. How many of you you can visualize things? Hopefully most of you can. You guys are going to really pick up on these methods because you can actually use what your brain does naturally. I mean, you process visual information quite well already. If I ask you where you ate last night, you're probably going to, the visual memory of where you were is kind of going to come back into your memory. That's an association. So you see, memory actually works through association, so does learning. But, okay, so you're going to use your imagination. Files, which I'll get into. So I actually have mental files that I can store information in my brain. Don't worry, they don't fill up. You can create more if you need them. And it's actually better because when the information is structured, you can just go exactly to where that memory is and pull out what you want. And you're going to learn how to do that too. But I'm going to go through the link thing first. And review. When you're going to review this information, for example, when you link all of these things together, one after the other, if you don't review it, it'll be in your memory for a while, but you're going to forget it after a while, you know what I mean? So you're going to want to review that if you want it in your long-term memory, and you could remember these things for the rest of your life even. There's really no limit. You could memorize entire books and keep them in your memory for your entire life. So starting with this, to use our imagination to link the first two items in this list, potatoes and yogurt. Well, to me, my imagination is always the best, but I might think of yogurt getting spilled on like my baked potato or something, just something in your mind. The more emotions that your images have, for example, if it's something kind of disgusting, like, got yogurt in my potato, you'll kind of remember those more. Have you ever noticed that, like, when something traumatic has happened to you or something happy, you kind of remember those things more? It's because memory is really a big part of the memory process. So, yes, if you can conjure up some emotion to go with your associations, you're going to find that those are stronger, and you'll remember those better. Okay, so yogurt and apples. Now do this with me, because if you don't do this, I mean, you can know about it, but you're not. So just try to do this with me, and afterwards I'm going to turn this around, You might not think you're ready for them. I'm going to turn this around. I can guarantee you're going to remember every single one of these things. Yogurt and apples. Okay, yogurt and apples. So we're associating yogurt with apples. Now we already did it with the potato. So maybe I see apples in the yogurt section, and right in front of the yogurts there's like a whole bunch of apples just pouring out, you know what I mean? So yeah, we got some angry apples too. They have like little teeth on, little chompers, you know? So yeah, I mean, if you can imagine these things, it's just, it's going to create more powerful associations. More potatoes, that was a tricky one. You're trying to trick me up. I just visualized, like the first time I visualized one potato, the second time I just visualized a lot of potatoes, you know what I mean? But okay, so apples with more potatoes. The chomping apple is, you know, in the potato section, you know, the vegetables or whatever, or the potato bag aisle, it's just chomping. It's eating all the potatoes. Just one apple is eating all these more potatoes. You know, or you can even imagine more than usual. There's more potatoes than usual at the store. Like, why would the store have this many potatoes? You know, it's overflowing the box or something. This apple is eating them, though. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. More potatoes and shampoo. You might see. By the way, you saw how fast I was doing this. With practice, you can do this stuff, you know, as quick as you want. Like nanoseconds, really, to form these associations when you got enough practice. More potatoes and shampoo. You might visualize more potatoes and shampoo. Like all of those potatoes are now like being thrown by tangerines. That won't work. Okay, being thrown, or like you just see a whole bunch of potatoes being thrown at the shampoo, you know, section of a store or something. So you just see this in your mind. Shampoo and tangerines. You're at a some kind of resort. You're eating your tangerines. It's because it's one of those tropical fruits. Somebody comes along and spills, like the butler or something, he's carrying shampoo to another. He just spills it onto your tangerine. It's like, what? You ruined my tangerine. There's shampoo all over the tangerine now. Tangerines and cheese. You might see. A slice of, like there's a slice of missing from the tangerine, and in its place is like a chunk of cheese, and it's like, what? You wonder why there's a chunk of cheese in the tangerine. Cheese and bananas. You open a banana and there's just some Swiss cheese there with all its holes and stuff. You're like, it just looks kind of disgusting, you know. So bananas and avocado. Some of these things, but like I said, you have to use your imagination. Let me ask you, how would you kind of associate bananas and avocados? Is there any image you can kind of muster up? You know, all right.
I think of a fruit basket on top of somebody's head.
Okay, because it usually has bananas in it, but now it has avocados, right? All right, so yeah, there's just these people are walking through with baskets on their head that usually have like bananas in them, but now they have a whole bunch of avocados. Avocado and bacon. Maybe you're frying some bacon up with some avocados. I mean, that doesn't sound very appealing to me personally. I kind of turns my stomach a bit. Bacon and milk. You're pouring milk in. You're just pouring milk and bacon's coming out. It's like a whole bunch of bacon's just coming out of the milk. Yeah. Troll visualizations, but you know. The weirder they are, they have a tendency to just stick in your mind. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to convince your brain that you're actually seeing this stuff. If you saw that in real life, I challenge you to forget it, like honestly. Milk and butter, you might see. I don't know, a milk jug cut in half, and there's just, you know, like you would scoop out butter regularly. It's not a very good one, but like when you're trying to memorize these things fast, you want to do the first visualization that comes in your mind too, because that's usually going to be the one you remember later. You know, if you try to change it, oh, that's not good enough. Well, that's the first one you thought of. It's probably going to be the first one you think of later too. So you might want to keep that in mind as a tip when you're doing stuff like this. Butter and toilet paper. All right, where there's supposed to be the toilet paper, there's like sticks of butter just there, like your roommates are trolling you or something. You just put sticks of butter there because you're not buying toilet paper. It's like, all right, we'll just use whatever. Toilet paper and ice cream. You're going to get some ice cream that you like maybe dispense from one of those things at the restaurant, and toilet paper comes out. It's like, okay, they mixed up the lines there. Ice cream and ranch. Well, for this, since ranch is has kind of multiple things you can visualize, I kind of did the sauce, but or the dressing, but you can use maybe like a ranch, like a horse ranch or something, So maybe there's just a stack of ice cream in the middle of the ranch, and the horses are like, they can't get around it or something, It's like horses can't get to the other side of the pen because the ice cream is blocking. Maybe a whole bunch of little different flavors. Ranch and chicken. You could just imagine a whole bunch of chickens running around, and they're covered in ranch now. Chicken and bagels. You might see that cartoon character. You remember that rooster, that chicken from like the cartoons? But you might imagine him with like a big bagel around his neck. He's like trying to get it off or something. We're almost done here. A bagel isn't. I thought it was Tahiti, but
that's
it's
what I thought too.
Tahini. Well, we'll just do Tahiti. Like Tahiti's like a tropical place, right? You just need to come up with images that kind of remind you of the word that it was before. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the word. Tahiti reminds me of some kind of tropical place. So I kind of just saw hot sauce that was like dressed up to look festive and stuff. So maybe bagels and this deal. You could be pouring this on a big stack of bagels. This festive looking bottle of Tahiti sauce. That and cereal. You're digging around in those cereals. You know how you find a prize? You pull this out. Yep, it's another bottle of that. Tahiti sauce. Cereal and bread. All right. All right. You got homemade bread. You slice it in half and you spread it open. Cereal just starts coming out. You might have used the wrong ingredient here. All right. You could review it at this point if you want, but I'm going to try to see how many of you remember it without.
Oh my gosh.
Without the. See, I remember what they all are now. Number 2 is yogurt, by the way, so don't think I. Don't remember that now. All right. So remember the first link. The first link was potato. Yogurt, because there's like yogurt is getting spilled on your potato. Right. All right. The next link, because after yogurt, the apples, the angry apple was just coming off of there. So that's 3. And remember, this is the first time you're trying these techniques. You're going to do your own investigations and like find what works best for you, because that's what all of these people do, by the way, these top memory competitors. They kind of refine these techniques for themselves and see what works. All right, the next one would be
More potatoes.
more potatoes. Yep, the more potatoes, because the apple was eating all those potatoes. It's like, why did they even? All right, so more potatoes, and then shampoo. Then
Tangerines.
you guys didn't write it down, did you? No, I'm just kidding. So you see, let's just try to go backwards through the list now. All right, the last item on the list was bread.
Cereal.
Yeah, see, you automatically you memorize it forwards. You have it in your memory. So through association, you have it already, so you can just go backwards through those associations. Okay, so that's the link method, and that's like one of the simplest ways to memorize a list there. So see, that's not too bad, is it? Yeah, I mean, you can go backwards through it. You probably, this might surprise you, but you'll probably remember this stuff like maybe even within a month or 2 or longer. This is pretty good. All right, so any questions so far? Because I was going to try to ask some questions in case. I wanted to make sure everyone's grasping everything, if they have any questions. So none so far? All right, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple concepts. Let's see, the method of Loki now. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but this is actually one of the oldest methods here, dating all the way back to Greece in the year, I think it's like 2,000 years ago. Let's see here, the journey method. Okay, so we did this. We did associating one item with the other. But what about if you forget one of those items, you know, in between? Like, okay, I remember up to here the apples, but I lost this. You know, you're not going to really have the rest of these here, right? So that's a weakness of this method. But the next method I'm going to teach you about, the journey method, overcomes that weakness. What you do with this is you actually will go in your mind through a familiar dwelling. Like we're going to actually use this room here. And the Loki, by the way, is another word for place. Places, I believe, is what that means. So we're going to pick places in this room. We're going to go through them in the same order every time, but you're going to put things there. So, like potatoes, you can imagine like if this, let's use this sofa right here. Do you guys remember like what it looks like on this side probably? You can visualize that in your mind. You're just going to see maybe like a whole bunch of potatoes just on this couch rolling off, you know. Try to make them creative too. Like I said, everyone's going to have their own level of creativity too, but it's a skill that can just, when you keep doing this kind of stuff, it's just going to get better and better. So more places. I mean, one of the things about the journey method is it doesn't really matter how far apart the places you pick are, but what does matter is that the places you pick are distinct from one another. So we have this shuffleboard here. This would be a good place to store a memory. Yogurt. You might see instead of those little pucks here, you're playing with yogurt, you know.
That's good.
Because normally, I mean, I'd be freaked out if I saw people doing that. But so like one of these tables you might pick for another place that's distinct. Apples. You can see the angry apples bouncing up and down on the table instead of like associating with the next item. You see, so instead of associating with the next item, you're actually associating it with places. And I usually choose, like in my house, familiar places are the best to create these journeys, they're called. And they can be as long as you want. You could have maybe 50 stops. I like to call them stages in your journey. This would be a stage, that would be a stage. 52, because that's how many stages it used to take me to memorize a deck of cards. Because I'll get into that later. But, you know, 52 cards, 52 stages, storing a card at each place. You kind of see that? So I'd pick like maybe 5 places in a room, but you could pick more. And as you get more comfortable with these methods, you probably will like want to experiment with that. So we have the table, angry apples. Maybe that pool table right there. That seems like a good one right there. Some more potatoes. There's a bunch of potatoes just overflowing. It's like, why would, you know, there's a potato here yesterday. Why would somebody put more potatoes here? That just doesn't make sense. All right, we got shampoo here. You know, sometimes it's not that creative to do this, but sometimes I just imagine like I exaggerate maybe the shampoo. So it's a big bottle of shampoo sitting on that air hockey table over there. So you see, it can just be like you're exaggerating some of these things to kind of make them more stick out in your mind. The drinking fountain. Sam, do you remember what I was washing in the drinking fountain? I kind of mentioned something to you about washing something. Do you remember that? Did you visualize it at the time, or? It was apple, actually. I was like, well, maybe we're washing an apple in the drinking fountain, you know, because you kind of could just see this. Try to see it vividly in your mind. Use your imagination. And like my personal times for memorizing cards is like I can memorize 52 cards in about 3 minutes. So obviously I'm doing these associations really fast. I'm just placing, using my imagination, see it, go to the next card and all that. So we have the shampoo, and then tangerines. Okay, now you're washing a tangerine, and they're obviously not an apple. But anyway, you do that with theoretically as many journeys as you really want. Usually in a house, if you choose 5 places for each room, you can go through the house and maybe have 5 rooms. You'd have 25 stages. You don't memorize more than that. So 25 is a pretty good starting place if you want to memorize like grocery lists, or maybe even just come up with ways to keep track of a conversation you're having with multiple people. You could just start storing their conversations here. You know, it's pretty. I just can't imagine memorizing or remembering things sometimes without these methods. It's just so simple to use, and it's way better than normal memory. This is actually like an artificial memory method. Because, you know, your natural memory, ask my friend Justin, I forget my, my key card plenty of times, maybe like at least twice a day. No, it might not be that bad. But, so anyway, you have these stages picked out in your house. If you actually remember what number they are, you can go there in your mind instantly. So if I knew that was 2, I could go there instantly, and I remember I was playing with yogurt instead of the pucks. Or if I wanted to go automatically to 6, which would be the drinking fountain, I would remember that it was tangerines because we were washing a tangerine in the drinking fountain. So that's how I did this. I had a memory journey set up. It was actually a walk from the college to the barber shop that I just did today. I made this today. So, you know, they're really quick to do once you get the hang of it. You could just do this while you're visiting a new place. But the familiar dwellings, they work the best because you're going to kind of easily visualize your house a little better so you can store stuff there easily and walk around it and not forget where any of the stages are. But yeah, I just, you call out a number, I go to that stage in my mind, associate, using my imagination and focus, because I'm focusing on it, I'm not like daydreaming or anything, well kind of, but, so I'm seeing this stuff being associated with those spots. Bread was over, it's one of those bridges over there that, like near the dollar store, you know the bridge near the dollar store? I just saw bread, just a big loaf of bread just blocking up traffic, so that's number 20. And I actually have 26 stages on that because now when I memorize cards, I actually can store 2 cards at one place, which I'll explain later too, which means I only need 26 stages to memorize a deck of cards. So you kind of you can make these methods more efficient by being able to store information there. So yeah, but how do you know how to store information? I mean, have you guys ever tried memorizing 300 random digits? Have you tried visualizing that? Well, there might be a good explanation for that. For one thing, numbers are abstract. They don't really mean anything to us. Maybe our birthday, you know, our birth year means something to us, so we can remember that more than other numbers through association because, you know, it's related to you. So you're using association, you remember that automatically. But how do you memorize the other numbers? And by the way, for the date, the year, does anyone happen to know that the day of the week they were born on? Year.
1993.
Okay. Month?
June
Yes. And then the day?
16th.
The 16th. That would be, I believe, a Wednesday.
Yep.
Do you see? Yes. So as you can see, you can memorize hundreds of years of calendars. No, actually, there's a simple algorithm to calculate the days of the week. But in order to do it, you have to also calculate a certain value for the year. But I memorized all of those for the 1900s, so I just have instant access to those. Just go to them. So I don't have to do that lengthy calculation in my mind, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not that good at mental math. But for the other 2 things, it's like, for June it was 3, you have to remember 3, add that to 16, you get 19. And then for the year code would be 24, right? And then you wouldn't know necessarily, but you subtract the greatest multiple of 7 below 24, which is 21, you get 3, and that's Wednesday, the 3rd day of the week. So you see, I don't know, this is something you can investigate on your own, but I'm just showing you how powerful these things can be. I mean, you've seen savants that can do that kind of stuff, you wonder, man, they must really be gifted. And some people do this naturally, but your own brains are pretty amazing. I don't think you guys really realize that, as a human species, our brains are probably capable of doing a lot more than we actually recognize. And hopefully, I'm exposing you to a little bit of the things that our brain's capable of that you might not have known about, like this association. Our brain does this association naturally. When I ask you to remember places around your house, you already know places around you. You remember where your bed is related to your bedside table, I would hope. So you can kind of already, you're just using the natural ability of your brain to memorize things effortlessly. Your brain's already good at processing visual information, already good at imagination, and you're just taking advantage of what you already have. You already have access to this, but you will want to practice it, obviously. All right, so for numbers, though, how do we do numbers? Well, there's a number of ways you could do that. 0 through 9, the digits 0 through 9, you could start by creating an image for every, maybe 2 seems like a swan. It's kind of shaped like a swan, you know.